Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the
my
Firearms
fault.
Radio Network. Well, so that's what happens when you haven't been on for like a month.
I'm out of practice.
Yes, you are. So, we figured we'd take a night and talk about safety. But first, what's everybody been up to?
Well, we all go at once. So, just been reloading 6 XC cases. That's all.
Nice.
Got some new test loads with the Nosler 75 grain bullets. So, going to try those out. It's getting close to the P-Dog time.
There you go. Jason, what you been up to while you've been off on your sabbatical?
Well, nothing to do with guns, but the sale finally closed on my folks' house.
Cool.
So that's done. And I've been working around the house getting this place ready to sell. I got a estimate on a roof repair, and the guy wanted $4,000. And so we were slow this week, so I borrowed one of my coworkers, and we finished it today for about $900.
Nice.
And remember when I told you I wasn't taking Kathy back to Idaho till I had a full-size truck?
Yeah.
I got one today. So she's planning possibly Memorial Day weekend. We go up there. I got a 02 Dodge Ram 2500 5.9 Cummins.
Nice.
And the 6-speed manual.
Excellent.
The only thing I didn't get that I'd been watching for is I wanted a long box. I'm a long bed guy.
Yeah.
But every time I found one that looked decent, they wanted $30,000 for it. So that seemed like a lot of dough for a 20-year-old truck.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah,
Good
Paul
choice.
Loud. Yeah, I got all that and a two-wheel drive.
Oh.
Just kidding. It's 4-wheel drive.
Okay.
And
I was going to say Phil Jr.
Yeah, right. It's lifted a little bit, and I was kind of concerned with how my wife was going to get in it.
Yeah.
But when I brought it home, she jumped in it and said, I think it's just a matter of muscle memory and getting used to it. She said, I don't think it'll be a problem.
There we go. If not, just get her a step stool.
It's got steps on it, but you still, they only drop so far below the door. But or I could buy one of those $1,000 automatic dealies that pop out. But I don't think
still don't go down far enough.
Yeah.
Nope.
What you can do is you buy a hoop.
Airbag it.
No, you buy a hoop. They have hoop steps that you can put in.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can attach it to the running board or the Nerf bars, and then it hangs down even lower.
Yeah.
Huh. I was thinking maybe a 5-gallon bucket. But...
Much cheaper. And she's just going to bring it up in the cab with her after.
Tie a string.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's about it for me.
Well, you just got to airbag it so that way you can pull up and lower it like a lowrider.
Mm-hmm.
And then get back, bring it back up. There you go.
All right.
And then when you start towing stuff, those airbags come in handy.
Right. Yeah, they do.
So, but Nick and Ray, what you been up to?
I actually did quite a bit this week. So I had all my dies came in to start loading for 577 450. Started with the full 24 gauge case. Got my 3D printed little pre-cutting jig. Just mounted another one of those little Harbor Freight chop saws.
Yep.
And then started running them through the 2 forming dies that I got, and we ended up with the correct size case.
Nice.
So
Nice.
having a little bit of issues with some of them putting. This one's got a minor one. Oh, it's going to show up. It's got a minor
a little lube dent there.
lube dent, but this one should fire form out. So we're thinking maybe a little bit too much lube. So we'll start playing around with that a little bit more, and also got the bullet mold in this week. So
Nice. That's a healthy chunk.
it's a 475 grain size, 470 diameter bullet mold.
Wow.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it's coming along. So hopefully I'm hoping by the middle of the month I'll have a couple rounds to put down range, and definitely have some video and put it up on the Discord channel. So
Nice.
Who's the gentleman that gave you some tips and pointers? One of the listeners.
I'll give him a shout at the end.
Okay.
So yep,
All right.
but that's about it for us.
Okay.
When you're sizing that brass down and moving the shoulders, don't put a lot of lube on.
And that's kind of we weren't doing a lot from the get go, because in the forming dies we have, we noticed that it's not a lot of pressure
Yes.
like a lot of the other guys are getting when they're doing it. So we
Yeah.
went super slow, thinking, okay, we're not putting a lot of pressure, and we'll go maybe 1/8 of an inch at a time and slowly work it up in there. We would still, once we would get to where that it would form that shoulder, it would still put a weird lube in it, even with very little lube. So
I still think we were way overdoing it. Though.
we might, yeah. It's a trial and error at this point. This is it's something I'm.
Clean
Yep.
your dies out.
And well, yeah, we did that. We've done that
Start with it.
twice.
Start with a clean die, as you know, and minimize your lube down, so you feel resistance. Don't get it so it's so easy.
Yeah.
But feel some resistance.
Yeah. As I said, it's kind of like diving down the rabbit hole for milsurp cartridges for me. So just
Well,
something
it's,
to
you know,
learn.
anybody reforming brass has to
Yeah.
learn how to do it.
Yep.
And does you have a vent hole in yours?
These
In your
are
die?
I don't know if these have
these
them.
are CH4D.
They're
I don't know. Let me
CH4D.
look.
Yeah, he's going to grab up the dies. So I'm not sure if these have a vent hole or not.
So
Those are the form dies.
So these are the form dies. So this is 2.
No, and even the full size doesn't.
So that's full trim. So yeah, the form dies is basically
Yeah.
just a
Uh-huh.
die thread. Yeah, so it's clear all the way through. So
Okay.
same thing on both the forming dies, and then you got the file trim die.
Yep.
So that's just when if that sets your shoulder and allows you to trim to your length. So
And the full length does not either.
and yeah, the full length is not either. So
Okay.
So
Move the locking rings to check.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, these are.
No, they don't
Okay.
have any.
Yeah, I don't have any. Which is
So
Okay.
definitely gotta go light on lube.
yeah,
Yeah.
almost very little to no lube almost.
Because what's happening is it's acting as a wipe, okay,
Mhm.
as you go down. All right, so it's pushing the lube down, and just what you need. What you'll probably have to do is just your fingers on it, okay, just a little bit on your fingers. Work it that way. When you get done with it, wipe it off. Put a little on your fingers again, very little. Then go ahead and run it through the next die.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just we started playing around with it last Saturday, so as I
Yeah.
said, it's just trial and error. So we'll get there.
We'll get it.
So
Well, I just don't want you to waste any of them expensive 24 gauge cases.
well, and there's a couple guys I talked to. They say you lose about a third. So, but they're using standard. They're going right into the full length sizing die.
Yeah.
And with us using those forming dies, potentially less waste. We'll see. And there's quite a few, like this one that has the one on the shoulder. that should easily fire form out. I think we have 6 or 7 of those just like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Mike.
Yeah. So basically, when you're doing that, you just take your finger and just literally lightly rub it across, and that's all you should need on that.
Is that the Imperial?
Yes.
Yeah.
How thick is it? I mean, because this is still kind of soft. This Hornady stuff.
Oh, it's. I mean, I could push my finger into it and squish it,
Okay.
but I know that you just very lightly run your finger across.
Yeah, we're probably definitely over lubing.
Oh yeah.
So you know the little glass bottles or the glass cases of Carmex
Mhm.
for your lips. It's probably about that same consistency, and you just get just a light touch.
Yeah.
Think of it like you're trying to like run your finger across somebody to give them goosebumps. So it's just that really light touch. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we thought we had Imperial, but we can't find it, so
Yeah.
we'll end up getting it
you'll find it later.
eventually. Oh yeah.
So
That's everybody is. They always thought they had something and they can't find it on their reload binge. Everybody's in that same boat.
I mean, it's time to clean.
Yeah.
how dare you say that word? So
Well, the new Imperial dye wax, sizing wax, is brown.
oh yeah, the dry stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a little bit different. So
And answer 338 Super Pew's question. It's actually a 577 450 Martini Henry. So I plan on getting a Snyder. I'm hopefully in a couple weeks gonna save some more money back up. I'll be looking at a Snyder here in a couple weeks. So
did you buy your borescope yet?
we got busy the other night when I was talking to you on the Discord, and then Sunday was just a mess. I think we might end up ordering it tonight. So after watching some videos and talking to you about it, it's incredible for what those things cost, how good a picture it does.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they are pretty amazing.
So I think the Lyman one's like $200.
Yeah, Lyman's $200, and you can go buy this for. I think they dropped the price now. I mean,
It
imagine
was like
that.
$67 when I looked at it after you sent me
Right.
the link. So
And I spent $80 on mine.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's only 4 months ago. Okay, 5 months ago. So
Look at the Lyman or that. What was the other brand?
I don't remember the
The
other
one
one.
Paul had.
That's the one we're going to get. The Tesla one's what we're going to get. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is, if it's a C connection on your phone, you can just use your phone with it while you're, at a gun shop or whatever. So
Right.
Yeah, I just had my new phone coming today, so my old phone here is going to become my dedicated borescope phone, my chronograph phone. It'll be nothing just for that. So
yeah, I gotta.
That'd be nice. That'll be nice indeed. So this is all I did this week. I got some of these.
Bullets.
Boletos.
Yep. So now I can load some 45.
Ah,
Yay.
yay.
So
So what are you gonna? What's gonna be behind them?
I don't know yet. Got to go through the powder collection and figure it out. I haven't decided. But yeah, I got a couple options up there. So but that's about it for what I've done. So Jim, Sharenda, and Travis are all slacking tonight. So they won't be joining us. Actually, what I think it is Travis was afraid because we're going to talk safety. So
We'll get OSHA after him. Yeah.
yep. So here's a question for you. When we were just talking about lubing cases, how does that relate to safety?
Oh, wow. A lot of ways. I
Very
mean,
important.
Not only, the safety wise, we're sitting there going, if we don't remove the lube, we have what we call bolt thrust. So where the cartridge case does not adhere to the chamber, and then you get all that pressure that comes back and either on the bolt of the gun or the faceplate of a revolver, or on a semi-automatic, would be starting it to move faster than what would happen if the case actually grabbed the chamber. And we started the process of of unloading too soon. A bolt gun, we could shear the lugs on it on a lever action. You could bend the toggle. Boy, you leave that lube on and you can really cause some problems.
Yep. What's the other big issue in relation to lube and bottleneck cases? What's everybody's fear?
You don't size the case enough.
Sticking it.
Yeah.
Both excellent answers. And both cause problems. Probably one of the way I've seen a lot of people get injured is they stick a case, and instead of doing it the right way, they just try and cobble job getting it out, and they wind up cutting themselves in some way or another, or smash a finger or something like that. I've seen that as a pretty common one. So, but more importantly, you don't size it properly, and then what happens?
Out of battery or slam fire or an out of battery firing, or you get the case stuck in the in the barrel, in the chamber. And then you try to take it out and you don't have the right tools to take it out with. And if you try to take a rod and try to knock it out, you can actually set the cartridge off with the rod in there.
Yep.
And there have been people that have been killed with that.
Yeah.
They're
cleaning a rod right through the eye because they're busy looking down the barrel, and
or through the stomach, or because that's where
Yep.
they were setting in a vise and pounding on it, and the gun goes off, the cleaning rod goes.
Yep.
Even with the bolt of the gun out, I think back in the show my age again, in the 80s, there was a national bench rest match where Neil Cox was and he was in the American Rifleman explaining where the competitor was driving the round out with a cleaning rod. It went off and it went through him, the cleaning rod. So, missized case. You can get the same thing with a slam fire, though, guys. I mean, something can happen that way. I mean, with the popularity of ARs and everything else, I don't know how many have gone to the range and helped somebody that have gotten a round stuck in the chamber and no one knows how to get it out. and teach them. You have to teach them how to mortar an AR. Okay. But they have jammed rounds in there.
Yeah. So GGW Reloading wants to know, why would you beat on a live round? Because you don't know what you're doing.
Has anybody ever tried to take a stuck case out of a barrel, a chamber?
Technically.
It's loaded.
Oh, loaded? No.
Loaded.
No.
Okay.
Off to the gunsmith. Not
done
messing
it.
with it.
If it hasn't came out by mortaring on an AR, I've luckily everyone I've ever had, but there's been very few have come out that way. Bolt action, with a rubber mallet, maybe tap on the bolt once you get it up, but other than that, luckily I've never had one not come out.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, yeah.
Yeah. So.
No,
Yeah,
I've taken some out, and I made a claw extractor to fit the case head, and was able to pull it out. But some people do a real good job with not trimming the case enough, and trying to use a very heavy hand and seating the cartridge case, and actually slamming the bolt home to try to get it to seat, and it wouldn't. And so then you mount it in a vise, the action in a vise, and make a set of claw extractors to surround the case head.
Right.
I take that back. I have done that on one, but it was a 22 long rifle.
Okay.
So, pocket knife and Leatherman, and I got it out. So, but I also had it pointed down range the entire time. So, in the event that I did manage to put enough pressure to engage the primer, the bullet's going in a safe direction. And it was very, the reason I used my pocket knife is because it was a cheap knife. The blade would break easily. So there's a chance that if I was going to put any sort of pressure on it, the blade would break before I would put enough pressure to damage the chamber or theoretically ignite the primer. So, I mean, we're literally talking, it was like a $3 Walmart knife.
Well,
But
still,
then-
you still have the find something goes down range. What happens? You got an open bolt. You got safety glasses on and everything
yeah.
else. Okay.
Yeah, I had safety glasses on, put gloves on. So I mean, they were winter gloves because that's all I had, but I didn't want to transport a live round if I didn't have to.
Yeah.
So, one of the things Raymond McKnight said, by mortaring, I assume using the buttstock and hitting into a solid while pulling on the charge handle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I usually prefer to put a foam rubber pad down and then come down on that. So I try not to. You can break stocks.
Yeah.
Doing
Collapse the buttstock on a carbine.
Yeah. And
keep it pointed and keep it pointed down range. Don't point it up.
no, that's the most important thing. Because if that goes off, you're talking a couple miles possibly, depending on the angle you got to point it at.
Yeah.
So.
Then you get the Afghan hail. If you have it pointed up.
Yep. 338 Super Pew said pocket knife didn't work out for me. The rim was bending out. Ended up using a cleaning rod and tapping the rod on a wooden target stand. Sketchy as hell. Yeah.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the main thing.
Uh-huh.
If you're gonna take a cleaning rod and try to bang a case out or a live round, if say you can get a bolt action, the bolt out, or even the bolt back on the AR, don't stand right in front of the muzzle. That's the first thing. Stand off to the side, gloves, safety glasses. It's just common sense at that point.
And if you've got something solid you can put in between you and that chamber,
exactly.
So
I try not to do that, but if it's something you have to get it out that day and you don't want to transport it a live round, safety is the main thing. That's as always.
Your day's done till you get that live round.
Oh, exactly.
Here's a Canuckian safety measures from Jorgen, and this is a joke, folks. Joke, not serious. Put a cleaning rod down the bore, throw a rifle like a javelin against hard target, duck and cover. So there's some Canadian logic for you. Remember, it's a joke. It would not work actually. So because the cleaning rod would fall out as you throw the rifle. So.
Little electrical tape on there, Mike.
Oh yeah, that's right. Electrical tape fixes everything.
Yep.
So, yeah. So the biggest thing is safety glasses, and like these. Not normally when I'm shooting, I use these as my safety glasses. I purposely order the lenses that are set up to stop a 22. However, if you look at eye coverage, if I'm trying to stop other things from getting to my eye, they're not going to do me much good. So that's one of the reasons I was actually wearing the regular safety glasses today. They make safety glasses to go over these. Damn it, I looked at the comments. Jorgen, knock it off. So as you can see, these seal up against my eyebrow. They go across to the temple, down along the orbital bone, and there's not a lot of gap in here to get stuff in. So, I mean, there still is. It's not like safety goggles, which are actually a little better and usually seal tight against the face, or your expensive safety goggles that have a foam on here to really get it. So, I mean, these are your cheap $3 or $4 a pair safety glasses that you can pick up at any hardware store or, Convenience Mart. Well, I shouldn't say Convenience Mart, but
who's the YouTuber that just had a kaboom and the safety glasses saved his eye?
Oh, Kentucky Ballistics.
We'll talk about that now. We're getting to that because that was one of the reasons for talking safety tonight.
Yeah.
These are from RX Safety, and these are Wiley X glasses. But I'm a prescription user of glasses, and they're bifocals. So the good safety glasses are very tight to the face here, here up on the top here. So your orbit bones are protected and keeping everything, gases and everything away from the eye as much as possible. A lot of people complain that they wear glasses and they can't use their glasses for shooting. Look at places like RX Safety and a couple others out there that offer a lens kit where you can add one or two and place it up on the lens in this area here, so you can actually see if you're using pistol sights and that, so it moves your vision up, and you can actually see your sights as you focus on them, your front and rear sight instead of the blur at close distances. I think Amazon even sells them too. They're just a plastic lens that you just put a drop of water on and they'll stick to your glasses.
Yeah. There's quite a few shooting glass companies now that actually offer you an option to have prescription lenses. So I'll see if I can find a couple and add them to the show notes.
RX Safety offers a number of sportsman's glasses brands, so you can Wiley X, Smith Optics, just to name a couple of them, but they have a whole selection of frames that are what you want, and then you can go into the different types of lenses as far as polycarbonate, Tyvek. I think they have 3 different lenses that you can get. I'm not sure what the other one is. I usually order Tyvek because they're strong and they're lightweight.
Yeah.
And then you go into your bifocals or whatever you want, line, no line, and work it from there. Plus all the other options you can get, scratch resistant, and everything. But like I say, every manufacturer of shooting eyewear other than DCOT, will sell you the frames, and you can even get DCOT, but they go through eye doctors to get theirs. Okay, so your prescriptions for that. But safety glasses, a lot. I see so many people that want to wear their reading glasses or their regular glasses, and that's just an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, especially like the $3 ones you buy at Walmart or your gas station and crap. So one of the things I want to briefly just mention, and most of the people who pay attention to this probably have heard about, Kentucky Ballistics had a Serbu 50 that exploded on him. He's got a couple of theories, but the Serbu actually the owner of Serbu has actually come out and said that he has all of the pieces now, and they're going to try and figure out what caused it and then try and duplicate it to try and fix the design. So, but as Paul was saying, was that Jason? I don't remember. Or somebody was saying that.
Oh, I did, yeah.
It was Ray said he flat out goes over his injuries in the video. I've got a link to the video in the show notes. He goes over the injuries that were caused and explains that the cap, which is, from what I saw, it looked like almost a 2-inch diameter cap.
Yeah, pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Came slamming back into his eye, or he still broke the orbital bone down here, but the safety glasses stopped it from actually getting to the eyeball. So, and he shows the safety glasses and everything. It's one of those things to just watch to know what can go bad. And this was theoretically Milsurp factory ammo. It wasn't somebody's reloads. So, and he said that Serbu said the manufacturer said it was about 85,000 psi to blow the end cap off like it did. So I don't even want to try to do the math on that to figure out how fast it was moving, but I'm sure that Idaho Rogers USMC said watch Tribosaurus Rex. He has the best info. It wasn't the gun. It was his failure to research what he was doing. So
I've watched that. I've also read the book that they're quoting there. And he said, not to shoot that gun or that round through a gun that has a muzzle brake. Okay, that's the number one thing he's saying. And I watched the explosion about 5 or 6 times in slow motion to see if I could see what was going on. And I can't tell for sure if it's the muzzle brake that's causing the problem, but I did watch when he was shooting that the round before it went wildly off range. In other words, about 1.5 foot movement at 100 yards. So I kind of wondering what was going on at that point. You understand what I'm trying to say is when you see that much deviation in a round, are we, did something happen that you didn't notice? I mean, a 50 is not something that you can just sit down and say, that one didn't feel the same.
Right. I mean, the recoil on it's violent enough that it's
right.
It's not, you're not going to be able to probably figure that out real easy.
So
that time it only felt like a 308. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but he said he put a black black tip down range. Did somewhere along the line, did a jacket come off? Did a sabot stay in the barrel somewhere?
Right.
I didn't see any bulge in a barrel that they showed us. Okay. In going over the video footage, usually if there's something as a bore obstruction, we see a bulge someplace, and of course it could have been right up against the chamber. I don't, so I don't know. I can't tell from what we have seen so far. My question was the cap and is a screw on to close the breech of the gun, was a screw on cap. It's got to take a lot to shear all that.
Yeah.
Those threads. And them telling me it's 85,000 psi and 50 caliber is 55 to 60,000 psi. That doesn't, I know proof rounds on other guns are a lot higher than that. Weatherby, when they proof round their guns, they were close to 100,000 psi.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we talking failure of the gun?
Yeah. Well, you had a good idea.
Could an increased powder charge create the bullet to be a bore obstruction? If your burn rate is faster than it can push the bullet down the barrel,
yes.
Can that bullet become a bore obstruction?
Yes.
Well, Ian just had a good video today about it. Forgotten Weapons just did his take on it, and he says he thinks usually it's something like that. When that happens, it's a bore obstruction of some sort.
Well, bore obstruction could be anything. Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, and, within the length of the bore, I'm trying to narrow it down was there a before or after bore instruction? In other words, I understand where your dad's coming from as far as the powder could have deteriorated. You could take as any of you, I used to keep a box of 223 in my truck, and in the back of the toolbox, and every year take what was left out, pull the bullets, throw everything away, because a year driving around in a pickup truck, it was the powder itself was deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone the freeze, the cold hot cycles that was going through and everything else. So was this ammunition experiencing that too?
Yeah.
Before he got it, he spent $100 a round on this stuff, and that's a lot of money, but who knows where it came from?
Right.
Yeah.
And with the powder breaking down, one of the ways that happens is if it's an extruded powder, when they calculate that load and that burn rate, it's with that stick being at a certain length. Well, as it bounces around and bounces around and bounces around, you start breaking that, and you can also start knocking the coating off that they put to retard the burn rate. So now, instead of having a powder that burns at 1 grain per second, it's now burning at a tenth of that time. So you've got a grain that's now burning in a tenth of a second. So you've increased your burn rate. Therefore you're increasing your pressure exponentially. So that's what he's talking about when he's talking about powder degrading. It's not that the powder goes bad inside the case, but it's a case of the powder actually physically breaks down into smaller chunks.
Right. And that deterrent coating that's on there, just the vibration of going through against rubbing one against the other, will do that. And so we have, that, and what was it? 70? No, it was 90. In the 90s, do you remember the battleship Iowa? They were showing the 16-inch gun explosion.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They had the same problem. They had a powder deterioration, and it was a bore obstruction because the shell didn't move.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That was cordite, right?
Yeah, that'd be cordite.
no, they use black powder. They use a smokeless powder. Okay, and it's just the granules are about as big as your thumb. Okay.
I thought they used cordite.
No. And it's a stick powder, but the granules are about as big as your thumb. When Accurate Arms was in Wisconsin, they used to demill military brass and military rounds to get their powder. And a friend of mine was their attorney, and I went up there to watch that one day, and it was a very interesting process of demilling military ammunition. And then they would watch each round as it was demilled to make sure that it wasn't a different type of powder. And then they would take it and then send it off to a laboratory. And the reason why they were in Wisconsin, because UL Labs was in Northbrook and they would run the test on it for them.
So it is a nitrocellulose mix that they use in the naval guns. So, but they used to use cordite. World War One era was still using cordite. By World War II, it was not. I think on the big guns, I think 5 inchers, they might have still been using cordite, but yeah, as Thomas Peterson said, feel horrible for Scott. That's what I know for sure. So yeah, anytime something like this happens, and I'm grateful that Scott was willing to share this with the community for this purpose, to get everybody talking and to realize that this is, to kind of make everybody aware that, yeah, this is a real thing that can happen. It can happen to even your experienced people. So, but excuse me.
I mean, the other things that we do, that we need to remember for safety is our bullets as we're loading them.
Yep.
Right diameter, right weight. Don't be, especially if you're buying stuff in bulk, check, doesn't take long with a set of calipers to check a few things. Your cases, inspect your cases. Just
Nice.
little things that we have to take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah, inspect your completed cartridges.
Right.
Chamber check them. The plunk test. If you don't have a fancy chamber gauge, then just use the firearm and do the plunk test to make sure it's going to fit properly.
If you're doing it in a bolt action rifle, take the firing pin out. Okay. If you're doing it in an AR, take the firing pin out.
So, I mean, you're starting with making sure from the first step, when you're going through your loading process, when you're gathering your components, if it's okay to buy components off someone, but you can't just assume that, oh, cool, I got powder now, let's go with it. No, you got to check it and make sure it's okay. With this stuff, with the improved DuPont 3031, I not only checked it for smell, looked at a color and everything else, compared it. I literally created a 5-grain charge of this stuff and then a 5-grain charge of the new stuff, set them on aluminum foil and lit them both to make sure that they would burn at about the same rate. Making sure, and stuff like that. Don't just assume that because it's a family member or something that they've actually taken care of all this stuff, because it may have not. Maybe they forgot that they had this powder sitting somewhere and it was out in the garage and they didn't have the cap on tight. So that type of thing. Or, you get a bunch of lead bullets there's a couple in that are squished. Or the person that was casting them didn't know what they were doing completely. And so there's a couple in there that are a little too small or a little too big. A couple thousandths one way or the other can make a huge difference, especially with gas cutting. So, and I just wanted to bring it up as far as what can happen when a rifle comes apart. West Covina Dodge, not necessarily all of the issues that for the specific. So,
how many people have seen pictures of ARs that have gone up?
I actually have LFD Research who is the guys from Geeks Gadget Guns, literally purposely destroyed an AR to show you what happens when you fire 300 blackout through a 5.56 barrel. So I have a link for that video as well that'll be in the show notes, because you need to see, that is something that does apply to us, because that does happen a lot. So unfortunately, and there's quite a few people. I have a 5.56 and a 300 blackout barrel. So
Yeah.
you know, it's a pretty common thing nowadays. But Thomas Peterson said the smell of bad powder is very distinguishable. However, it's hard to put in words. It really is. I mean, it's kind of a sulfury, rotten eggs, catalytic converter going bad smell. I mean, it's excuse me. It isn't something that is easy to describe, but it's one of those that once you smell it, you'll never forget it. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on here where you've got mistakes going on. There was somebody that blew up a 22 with a factory round earlier, either last year or this year, I don't remember, because it found out it was a double charge. They had a box of factory 22 ammo that was double charged. So regardless, or needless to say, there was a recall that went out for that lot number, which is why it's important to keep your packaging for your factory ammo.
Yeah.
So,
what about in the Milsurp line as far as surplus ammunition that you guys go through? I mean, what do you look for?
Mainly, if I'm getting surplus ammo, especially like this 8mm, I've been buying a lot of 8mm surplus the last couple of years. With that, I'm basically pulling the bullet, pulling the powder, throwing the case out, and reusing the powder at a condensed charge in the bullet. I'm not going to take that chance of saying something be wrong with that case, go shoot a gun that's worth, say, $1,200, and I blow up a $1,200 gun, and it's hard to fix something like that.
right.
Parts aren't made anymore. So I don't take that chance personally.
Well, even on one you're not breaking down, case corrosion.
Case corrosion's a big
For
one.
case corrosion.
Yeah, especially right around the neck, around the primer. It's something, if you've loaded for surplus or buy a lot of surplus ammo, you know what you're looking for at that point. It's just with time.
Well, not everybody knows.
No, not everybody. New people, I recommend not. You have to be very careful if you're getting into the surplus game and buying surplus ammo. You don't want to take a chance of blowing the gun up and hurting yourself, especially because most surplus guns are wood stocks.
Right.
You're going to get, if you blow up a surplus gun, you could have splinters, chunks of wood all throughout your body. You don't know. And that's it. It's just it's just as dangerous as what Scott went through at Kentucky Ballistics.
Yeah.
If not worse, because it's hard to tell, especially like even cordite. I've read accounts where cordite, if there's one or two extra sticks, it can be overcharged and you can really hurt your guns.
Yeah.
So, and you're fortunate, like in some guns, like the Arisakas and the 1917, they're known for having super strong actions. So those guns can usually handle that. I'm not one to push my guns to the hottest max load.
And the true only surplus ammo we shoot is probably 30-06 from Greece.
Yeah.
It's probably
That's
everything else we normally break down and reload.
well, or I have Mark 7 303 British. That's about the only other stuff I'll shoot. I have some Iraqi 303 British. More than likely, that stuff's not going to go off. So I'm going to take it up, try it. I already know it's going to go click. I'll end up pulling the bullet and using it in something else. It's just and that's why I haven't been buying a lot recently, because the price of it is just skyrocketed.
Yeah,
because you're paying those guys. Yeah, it's like regular ammo. there's guys paying $2 a round for surplus. It's like it's not worth that. So
I saw
Well, that's
somebody.
why that's along the ways why you cast too for it, right?
exactly,
Right.
exactly. That's like this
Okay.
Martini Henry. They don't make jacketed bolts for it. They're never
No,
going
right.
to, and why would I with that? And I think it's more fun to cast for these mill serps.
Yeah.
It's just you're going in deeper down the rabbit hole into it. It's just more fun, and I'll shoot jacket like through my Garands or my 8mm Mausers. I'll shoot if I want to put like do shoot targets or shooting a match. I'll shoot jacketed, but if I'm just going to plink,
Yeah.
cast.
What about some of the? I seem to remember some of the surplus guns having problems with their heat treatment.
I can't. Never mind. It's not.
03?
Nope. The 03s are kind of known for that. The early serial number 03s.
That's what I was
ones-
thinking. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the
the
spray
ones
guns.
that. Yep. The ones that went over into Europe. I have a kind of a different theory on that, but that's just personal theory.
Yeah, that's a big.
It's a big argument when you get into the Milsurp community.
Yeah,
But
there's
I
a lot
mean,
of theories.
That's what we're asking. I mean, that's why we
So-
want to know a little bit.
well.
according to soldiers, the guns blew up in combat. They always was told, "Oh, it was a heat treating issue. The receivers weren't treated to the right temperature." I always
They had 68 failures
68
out of
failures.
how many
I think
hundreds of
it's-
thousands of guns.
Yeah,
A lot of it, I think, was the ammo at that time. They even admit World War I 30-06 was not very good quality ammo to begin with. And that doesn't count into the fact that people are trying to feed an 8mm case into the gun.
that's my theory. Trench warfare.
yeah.
You're going to charge a trench. You use all your ammo up.
And here's another thing. Hatcher had all those statistics. How many modern day M16s have failed in combat? You never hear that. And you know what happens. I mean, it's 68 rifles out of how many hundreds of thousands. Counting, you have an ammo problem. You have you're fighting in the trenches. I mean, you're going to have accidents.
Yeah, I just we have low
We
number.
download and play it safe.
Yeah,
So
we
it's all
have
safe.
a low number 03, and we'll shoot it. We just super
Yeah.
low charge. I think it's a trail boss
Trail
load.
boss
at
load in that one.
super low. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it's we don't push it, and that's one of the ones we don't really shoot as much. We have
I got
high numbers. We'll shoot more, and it's cool to have one of each.
Yeah,
but
it's-
I have a different theory on that. And as I said, yeah, I think what they would do is, ammo laying here on the ground, or there's a whole box of ammo. You get a guy from middle of nowhere, Kentucky or something. He's like, more ammo to stuff my pockets. And
well, anybody,
you don't know. They would try to feed it. Oh yeah, it'll fit in my chamber, no problem.
Yeah.
Boom, gun blows up. You get a bore obstruction, or a 323 and a 308 diameter bore barrel. You're gonna have a problem. So.
Yeah.
And it's like the Arasaka. I think that after the World War II, they did tests. Those went up to over 100,000 psi.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was reading. It's like those things. I think they maxed out 115,000.
Well, yeah, I don't think Hatcher ever blew one up.
Yeah. So I've even thought about getting one of the test because I see them come up for auction all the time. The test,
Man device.
the man device Arasakas, and they go cheap.
Oh
it-
no, that's an 03, a man
No,
device.
oh no, you know what I'm talking about. You see
No,
the
I don't.
Arasakas, you've seen them at auction, but it's literally just the butt stock to the front of the receiver and the barrel, and they use those for testing. And yeah, I think it'd be cool to have, but it's incredible. And same thing with the 1917. They use the 1917 receiver for big game Africa hunting for years, and you see some very large calibers chambered in the 1917 action. So,
You'd be surprised how low the pressures are in those guns.
and they probably are very low. It's incredible what an old time, even
Sure.
it's incredible. It's just
You know, anytime we're reloading for a new gun, even if it's in a caliber we normally loan for, that first round, first 10 or 15 rounds, I'm always leery. I've been known to set it in a cleaning vise and strap it down and shoot it. You just don't know. I mean,
That's
You
what
don't
they make
know.
lead. That's what they make
Yeah.
lead sleds
Yeah.
for.
And that's you never know. Even just looking at over a gun, a lot of times you can't tell.
I'll put the headspace gauges in it and check all
well,
that. But
even if that all equals out, headspace is good. You don't see any surface cracks in the metal or in the stock or anything. Barrel looks good. Rifling looks good. Everything looks good.
Yeah.
There still might be something inside the receiver under the barrel that you can't see with the naked eye.
Yeah, we don't have a Magnaflux.
And we don't have a super high-end magnifying glass to look down the whole barrel.
Magnaflux. Not
Magnaflux. My bad. But yeah, you don't know, so we always don't take that chance. Better be safe than sorry.
Okay. So we know that with milsurps, you're looking at the cases, you're looking to see the deterioration around the primary areas.
Yeah.
You're looking at the bullet to see if it's the right diameter. You're inspecting it to make sure it's right and clean. So, and you're rejecting stuff that has corrosion on it that looks to be bad just to get components off of it. So
we look for Nick.
So those will be ones that I would not shoot again.
Yeah, Nick's got some here. This is 8mm.
Yes.
You can see it's kind of starting to get pretty corroded up there.
Yep.
That's something we'd pull, break down, and run the bullets through a tumbler and polish them up. And you see, and the primers have really gotten dark. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that stuff we just break down.
Yeah, this is 1936 dated German stuff. So it's worth a little bit, but yeah, that primer.
Yeah, just a little bit of corrosion.
Yeah.
That's probably one of those that the firearm can go right through.
Probably.
Yeah,
and that's here's another one. You can see that whole side of the case. So, and I have a case. I bought a small collection off a guy. He actually just gave it to me. And it was this big, large case and a little bit of rust and pitting on the side of the case. I'm literally looking at it in my hand, and this case literally just disintegrated in my hand. You don't want to put that in a gun. Actually.
Well, that primer, you can clean that primer right up, get your Dremel tool out, and that'll take
it ain't worth the 4 cents is the way I look at it.
They should use Brasso with that Dremel, right, Paul?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, on all seriousness, the reason I mentioned Brasso is you do not use Brasso to clean your brass because it has ammonia in it and it actually breaks down the brass. So,
I did.
Yeah, anything that has ammonia in it and brass does not work well. Sweet 7.62. Okay. Keep that away from your cases. Okay. It does great at removing copper as long as you're fast enough to get in there and neutralize it when you're done with getting the copper out. Sitting there and letting that ammonia sit in your barrel will do wonders for your barrel. It has been known to eat barrels up really quickly.
yep. Jurgen said, I hate all the conflicting information on 1896 versus 1898 Mausers. Lots of 1896s chambered in 308, 30-06, etc., but constant claims they can't handle the pressure. Which is it?
1896 versus 1898. It depends on what country at that point. Because the 98s, of course, your Gewehr 98, stuff like that.
Is that the large rig, small ring issue?
Oh, yeah. That's.
Yeah.
Large ring, small ring?
Yeah, it's got to be the large ring, small ring. If it's a small ring, download 100%. I wouldn't push it.
100%.
Or not 100%. I wouldn't. No, not
10%.
100%. Download. Don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're
But
saying if it's a small ring, you need to download it. And what are you coming down? You're coming down what?
I start
15%?
I
What?
start 10%. I start at least 10% down.
From starting load.
Starting load. Correct.
Okay.
That's what I do with every load in a new gun. I'll start, I'm just throwing a number, 18 grains, for instance. I would go down 10% from there.
Yep.
And I normally stay starting loads. I'm not going to push it. Yeah, what Jorgen's talking about, I think what I'm thinking of is the Spanish Mausers are known to be small ring Mausers that are in the 308. That's kind of where I see that, what he's talking about with that. So.
That's something I can think of.
Hang on.
And he says the 1896 is generally a Swedish Mauser. I believe it's missing the third locking lug. 1896 is our small rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be that too.
Oh, I've completely given about Swedish Mauser. Yeah. And, well, I've even read the Swedish Mausers are known to be pretty strong in general. But, yeah, if it's missing that third locking lug, don't push it. I think with our Swedish Mauser, we've only topped out at, I think 1,800 feet per. No,
I don't know.
We haven't tested it. Yeah, I have to look at the data.
Starting loads. Are
Starting
less,
load.
So
I wouldn't push it, especially because it's a surplus gun.
I don't push any of them.
No.
Why?
The gun's how many years old at this point? Over 100.
Yep.
No point in pushing it. It's not a modern gun made to modern standards. Why? It's just me. I know you're the same way, and a lot of people are in the same
not
boat.
worth it.
Yeah. So what are some of the key things that you need for equipment as far as safety goes? What should you have, especially around your bench? Like, what type of safety equipment should you have around your bench? Obviously, safety glasses.
You're saying reloading bench?
Yes. Reloading bench, not shooting bench.
Safety glasses, fire extinguisher. Trying to think.
I got a bucket with sand in it.
So why do you have the bucket with sand, Paul?
I have taken numerous people out, inspected the guns. Someone who handles the gun while I'm closing it up, and I bring it back into my shop, and just out of safety reasons that I may go click on the gun, point it at the bucket of sand, and damn, if somebody didn't somebody played with it after I had bagged the gun up.
Yeah.
And it has happened.
So you're using the bucket of sand as a bullet trap.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the other thing was when I was shooting IPSC, we'd load some bad rounds up. I mean, when you were loading 50,000 rounds a year up, you would load some bad loads up, and you didn't want to just sit down and pull them. So yeah, a bucket of sand always worked to capture it. So
you did that more as an easy unloader then.
well, it sure as hell beat sitting there rapping with the
Yeah, that it would.
Getting carried away with a Dillon RL1000 at the time, and you're not sitting there watching that powder,
Mm-hmm.
or the dial moves on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a good safety thing not to have an actual weapon near the reloading bench, because
Yeah. And I'm the last one in the world, because I smoke, and I'm I have powder out sometimes when I'm smoking, and bad juju on me. I shouldn't, but I've been handling explosives for going on 40, 45, 46 years now.
Yeah.
And I still count to 10 on two hands, and I haven't lost any of my toes yet. Yeah. But yeah, I have done some very interesting things. Anybody remember that they used to make a for the railroads an explosive charge that you would put on the track and lay this down on the track, and when the train ran over it, it would explode. Well, I think one day we were in Wisconsin and up north, and we took about 4 of those and put them in a 6-inch diameter pipe and put a 1-inch cap on it, and then fired a high velocity 22-250 round into it.
Oops.
It sounded like a very large propane tank went off. It was heard for about 10 miles.
Well, good. I thought you were going to say you derailed the train.
It would have. It would have. But the dangerous part was shooting at the cap, because where did the cap go?
Yeah.
We found it about 75 yards downrange.
Yep.
Okay, with a hole in it, but it was still, when it went through, it forced the charges together, went off, and then went back downrange.
Yeah.
So
GGW Reloading has a good idea. A phone, so if something does happen and you're home alone,
yeah,
you can call 911. Same thing when you're out shooting.
yeah, a med kit.
Yep, med kit,
Yeah.
first aid kit, and not just one of those $10 ones from Walmart, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Leave the TV off.
Invest in some good stuff, guys. I mean, throw a tourniquet in every car you drive. Okay.
I have 3 in my truck.
Yeah. Chest seals, stuff that you don't think, if Kentucky Ballistics would have had a chest seal to put up to help him hold his thumb in there. Yeah.
It's the med kit I keep in my range bag.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend everybody take a Stop the Bleed class at their local Red Cross.
Absolutely.
They provide these for you.
They used to, at least. This was
So they did
pre-COVID,
that.
I imagine. Yeah, I don't know if I do it anymore with COVID.
Yeah, take a Stop the Bleed class. It's basically it's not even a full first aid CPR class. It's just literally a extremities and a main torso. You've got to bleed. How do you fix it? Idaho Rogers, USMC, said he carries a tourniquet around his waist. The problem with that is, unless it's a cloth belt, you're never going to get it as tight as you will a regular tourniquet. If it's a leather belt or a actual gun belt, you're not going to ever get that as tight as you would with a regular tourniquet. So there's a chance that you may not get it tight enough to actually stop the bleeding.
Well, they have a tourniquet nowadays called the Rat tourniquet.
Yeah.
And it's a big bungee system, and a lot of guys do carry those around with their belt on their waist. Super skinny guys can do it. I can't, but
The problem with those are they're so thin.
And that's why I don't own one. I prefer the cat. They are out there. So,
but I also have a rat. But the thing with the rat that's nice about the rat is, for minor children, small kids, they work well for them because of the difference in structure. A cat tourniquet does not work well on a child.
It's true.
Okay,
that is 100% true.
so if you go to put a tourniquet around somebody's arm and it's too small for a cat, what are you going to do? That's where a rat comes in.
Yep.
But for us, for a normal size adult, get a cat, get a TTY. Sam makes them now, but Cat 7s are the standard in that. But don't forget, go out and buy a packet of gauze, okay? Not a foldable packet of gauze.
Yeah.
You'll get a puncture wound. Learn how to pack a wound. Learn how to apply a that type of a bandage to pack a wound and to stop the bleed. Isn't hard to do.
Nope.
Couple of fingers, and you can learn to do it pretty quick. I'm not a fan of somebody using Quick Clot or something like that if they don't know what they're doing with it. As if they don't know, they can cause other problems. But even, something as simple as a chest seal. I mean, just to, an Israeli bandage. How about that? 4 or 6 inch Israeli bandage. Keeping some of those around.
So this is the little kit that I got that I keep with me at work, and I also take to the range and everything. So it's got nice. I got this from a place called Top Pack Defense. Nice little carrying case. It was about $65 for everything. The nice thing about this is you can have it like hooked onto something, and then this is a quick grab and go. You just grab the handle, and this back part separates, so you can just grab it and go if you need to. But there's stuff in here. So this is the emergency trauma dressing, 4-inch, I think so. But then it's got rolled gauze, little gloves, cat. So, and then, so I got some Band-Aids in here, and what I did is I kept the bag. So the bag I can use, seal a chest wound if needed. And there's tape in here. So, but it's having it with you.
That's the big thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry if I kicked you out, Nick and Ray.
No, it was our internet went out. It went.
Okay.
Was giving me an issue.
So, I mean, that's the biggest thing is you got to have it with you. So explain to me what exactly a Israeli bandage is, because I don't remember off the top of my head.
An Israeli bandage is a bandage that has a plastic handle on the back end of it.
Okay.
And you place it you place the padded part over the wound. You unloosen the ears. I'll call them ears. They're long. You wrap it around the patient, and then you lace it around that handle, and then you can twist that handle to. There we go.
Yeah, I'll even put this in a Ziploc when I'm done. All right. So,
Come on, you're bleeding.
yeah, I know.
He's dying.
Yeah, I'm dead. Yeah, at this point. So it's got, of course, your cloth that you put on the wound
Okay.
After you pack it.
after you packed it, of course, and then get off there.
The brakes. Pull it.
And it just goes all the
So
way
you're
out.
not supposed to unwrap it as you roll it.
No, yeah. But you would pack and then put it on and then
Pull it tight.
pull it tight and just start wrapping. So here, you do it then.
Can't do it yourself. They get the point. You pack the wound. You pack the wound. You
Put
put
the
that on
handle there, so they see the handle
Yeah.
right there.
And what you do, you go through that. Then a lot of people will come back across. But that starts applying the pressure. And you basically just wrap it up. Get around. Of course, you'll be pulling it tight.
Yeah.
And I think I did that too soon. To tell you the truth.
You did.
Yeah, you seal it off.
It's already starting to get a little snug. It's not tight, but it's starting to get snug. So
And those are cheap. They're only
I think $8.
Yeah.
right now.
$8 to $10 locally.
So
Yeah.
if you can find them locally, we have a surplus store that carries them all the time. So
Yeah, the place I got mine from is Hot Pack Defense. They got an online store too. So, but you're going to find a lot of this stuff online. Skinny Medic has got a store too.
he just did a good video today talking about Scott's injuries and everything. He did a good kind of an after action report. If anybody's wanting to watch it, he did a good job on it.
Okay. So. Oh my goodness! Idaho Rogers USMC's got the veteran version, a roll of vet wrap and a maxi pad, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
He's a Marine. What can I tell you?
Don't laugh.
There's what you
I keep a maxi pad in my med kit, for a heavy bleeder. It'll soak up a lot of blood.
Yep. So
I keep H&H folded gauze pads, around because they're only 3x3, and they're cheap. They're like $2 a piece for heavy bleeding. I mean, you can keep stuffing stuff in, until you get it to stop, and that's the one thing people have to learn to do is how to stop a wound.
right. And with that, what we always used to recommend in our hunter safety course was the 4x4s.
Right.
Because you can unfold those things and they wind up being about 3.5 feet long if you put them in a triangle. So you can use them for all sorts of stuff like splints and our elbow carry and all sorts of stuff. So they're a good thing to have in your first aid kits. But the other thing is you can start stacking them. So if you get a wound, you put your first piece of gauze or something on there. You don't ever take that one off. That's for the hospital to do. Because if you pull that off, any sort of clotting that happened, any sort of blood stoppage, you just opened it right back up. So what you do is you continue to pile on top, and you may wind up with 2 or 3 stuck But then you just keep putting fresh ones on top.
You're not there to take anything off.
Nope.
Okay.
You know,
You're there just to keep adding on and keeping pressure on the wound.
Think of it this way: it's your pistol to your rifle. When you're doing first aid, whether it's at the reloading bench or at the shooting bench, and you've got a bleed, you need to get that bleed under control so you can get them to that next level of care. So just like you need to use your pistol to get to your rifle, that's what you're doing when you're stopping bleeding. And I'm not going to go into a full first aid CPR class on this show because that would take a couple hours and the Red Cross gets mad when you do that. But everybody, for crying out loud, get a CPR class, get a first aid class, get that stop the bleed class. You need to have the basic knowledge. And I'm not saying that you need to stay up to date. Okay. Yes, there's some things that change, but if you've taken one in the last 15 years, then you've got the basic knowledge you need. So,
if you take one every 5 years, that way you keep up with the stuff that's out there.
yeah.
Because I mean, what has changed in the last 20 years because of 2 wars going on for us?
Well,
Okay.
tourniquet use is a huge thing.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
in
not
the
only
last
that,
10
but-
years.
But packing a wound, we never would pack a.
Yeah.
When I was in the military, you didn't pack a wound. What did
Mm-mm.
you do? You put a pad on it, you tied it up, and that was it.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's as far as it went. Now
Yeah.
you sit down and you put a pair of rubber gloves on if you got time. If you don't, it don't matter. You sit down
Nope.
and stick gauze inside of it, and keep sticking gauze inside of it until it's full. Put a pad on it, wrap it up. If it's still bleeding, put another pad on it, wrap it up.
Yep.
Yeah, CPR has really changed because I think when I first took mine, it was 15 and 2, and they've even eased off on the chest compression. Say the breaths are more important. They want oxygen in that blood.
Yep.
And you know how much has changed on that? For a while there, they were sitting there saying, "Don't do the breaths and
Only
just
compression.
do the chest compression."
So they really changed on that.
So, yeah, definitely take your first aid, take your CPR classes. A lot of the times you can figure out a way to get them for free. If you talk to the Red Cross, your local Red Cross, they'll tell you who's actually doing them for free. Sometimes it's a nominal fee just to cover the time for the instructors, depending on what's going on. A lot of times employers will actually put on classes, depending on what your employers are. You can go to your human resources and say, hey, say you're in a factory situation, go to human resources and say, hey, we've got a bunch of people out in the shop that want to learn CPR first aid. Can we get some classes in here? And then they'll contact the Red Cross or another agency, and usually they can do it for low cost or no cost, because the Red Cross knows if you have a injury on a factory floor, especially, and there's 5 people around that can help stop that, your golden hour is lengthened. And the golden hour isn't an hour. It depends on the wound. But what the golden hour is it's the time frame that you have from the injury to get them to a world-class medical facility and be able to live.
Right.
And if you have somebody on scene that can start that before the ambulance gets there in 5 minutes, you've increased that golden hour.
Right.
So
I have watched somebody get CPR for 20 minutes because in a parking garage, they could not get the ambulance to them.
Oh.
And they gave the guy CPR for 20 minutes. 2 civilians gave him CPR for 20 minutes. We were working on an upper floor, and we stopped to because of all the commotion, and they had to park the ambulance down on 7 floors down and to get the cart up because they can't, ambulances are over 6'6" on a parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So as Paul was saying, every 5 years, Idaho Rogers USMC said as a guide and packer, we had to get Red Cross certified every 2 years. CPR procedures changed every different class. So he's talking every 2 years they got certified, there was differences in the class.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying don't do it often. I'm saying that at the very least, you know, once every 10 years, if it's a problem and a pain in the butt for you to do it, fine. You know, once every 10 years at the very minimum. But if you can stay current with your certifications, good on you. So,
yeah. You know, check with your park districts, see if they have anything, the community centers, any of that kind of stuff.
uh-huh.
You know.
In Jim's
And,
case, the senior center.
there you go. Well,
So,
That's like I'm looking at something for one of my gun clubs I'm a member of. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and we have very limited phone service there.
right.
I'm looking at getting a hold of Skinny Medic, and he teaches courses on trauma.
Yeah.
And he said he'll travel, and so
Yes,
I'm going
he
to go to
does.
my board, and if I can get the board agreement and see how many guys I can get to do it,
Uh-huh.
if we can get enough guys to cover the cost for him to come out, put him up in a hotel room, or stay at somebody's house or something, it's good to have that training, especially a lot of older guys that aren't familiar, especially
Yeah.
non-military. If they're not familiar with it, you're in the middle of nowhere, and we're down in the valley. You have no phone service.
Right.
So if you can treat yourself or someone else, and that's like even after Scott's video, I have a Bofang radio. I'm not a certified ham operator, but if you can keep that ham radio on or that Bofang or something,
Yeah.
I'm going to communicate on a ham line. It's an emergency. You're not going to get in trouble at that point.
Nope.
Just to get somebody
even
there.
at that club, even if you did get phone signal, got a call out, it would be 10, 15 minutes.
Half an hour almost.
Yeah.
Because they would have to do a life flight. The road to get back to the club is very small. They would have to get the,
Yeah,
the
you
life
are
flight.
your own first aid.
Yeah. So that the club there it's almost needed to have a trauma course
Mhm.
at this club.
okay. Don't do the Bofang. Look at a satellite radio. Satellite
yeah.
phone.
Well,
I
there's
mean,
He means for the club.
Some
club,
of them
yeah.
are not that expensive. Okay. You know, it's not so much the phone as it is the service that you're looking at.
Yep.
Okay. And if you can look for a plan that will get you, 15 minutes a year. Okay. That's all you want.
That I think that club don't have a hard line in.
It's up at the main clubhouse, which
Yeah, but
is
still.
if you're in the lower range.
Yeah, but somebody can run up.
But
there.
we do have we have guys that are ham operators at the club. They put up their own antenna.
But if
right
nobody's
there.
monitoring whatever frequency you're on, Nick, that's the
No, just an antenna to push it to the main repeater in town. So
I mean, there's all sorts of different possible problem solvings.
yeah.
So I'm sure that there are CPR classes, Spudman 76 months an hour CPR courses affected by COVID-19. I'm sure they are. But there's options out there to get the knowledge. And I'm sure that the Red Cross just didn't say, oh, COVID's here, screw it, we're not going to share anything. So they're still going to have knowledge available. They'll probably have like modified online courses and stuff that you can do, that type of thing. The biggest thing that we can tell you in this is, as far as first aid goes, learn it, get the knowledge. If you have say you're loading and somehow you manage to ignite powder and you get a flash burn, you need to be able to, dress that burn. Burns get infected real easy. Trust me. One of my sons, when we got placement for foster care, had third-degree burns over 40% of his body. So I learned about burn care real quick. It doesn't take much to get a nasty infection that can be fatal from a burn. Say you were, loading bullets, and you're sitting there and you get that burn. Well, you take that lead-covered hand and rub it right into the burn and wipe the skin off and stuff, and now you've got lead and other debris in there. So
Yeah.
it's getting the knowledge, retaining the knowledge, and practicing the knowledge. It's just like reloading itself. Getting the knowledge, retaining the knowledge, and practicing the knowledge. So make sure you have the basic safety equipment. Very minimum safety glasses. I was kind of hoping Travis was on so he could talk about when his 1050's primer tube detonated.
Oh, you want to? I can tell you about those.
Oh, that's right. You've got a couple of those stories.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. First one was, you ever have 100 primers go off at one time?
I have not.
I have. Okay. My 1000 went off. I put a hole through the drywall, 1/2-inch drywall in the ceiling, and the primers were still embedded. The rod was embedded in the roof, and there were primers that were embedded in the roof. In the plywood. So went right through the insulation, tore right through everything. I lost my hearing for a good day and a half. I now when I'm running a progressive, I now wear hearing protection for that reason. I will wear a full face shield for that reason. You guys may laugh about that, but
nope.
A good, sturdy face shield will do it. I was lucky. I was on the downstroke when it happened, and a Dillon 1050, 1000, 1100 prime on the downstroke. So it's not like you're pushing up on the handle to where the primer would be, because you're on a 550. This was on the downstroke, and it went, but the top of that primer tube, it was split. The safety tube, the safety tube was split, and again, though, I wore safety glasses and everything else, so the amount of smoke and gases that were around still caused my eyes to close up and water, and I had some very concerned family members wonder what the hell happened.
Yeah.
Luckily, no injuries as far as that goes, but you will never be so scared in your life when that happens at 2.5 feet.
I've popped one primer. That was a 209. Jim and I were talking, I think it was either after a show or we were just video chatting and planning stuff. And I was talking about shot shells, and I was loading up some 20 gauges. We were talking on my Lee Loadall, and I popped a primer on it. And I mean, that was just one 209 primer. And anybody who shoots modern black powder stuff knows how well those are. But yeah, it definitely scares the crap out of you. So.
Yeah. And if you can't see and you can't hear, you will wonder, what happened to you. Because it's not like, you're expecting this to happen.
No.
So
the equipment's theoretically designed so it shouldn't happen, but it does.
You guys just ordered some dies from C&H. C&H used to manufacture the Auto Champ press. You can still get parts for it from them. I have a 3, an Auto Champ 3. They stopped at 5A, but they stopped making that press because of primer problems, of primers going off and people being injured. So the original 3 did not have a safety tube. You had a brass tube to hold your primers, and that was it. So if you didn't run the press right, it would set off a primer and it would be stacked up right in front of your face. So that was a straight line press, and you had 4 stations. First station would feed the case, size and deprime. Second station was prime and drop the powder. Third station was to seat the bullet, and fourth station was to taper crimp. So you went 1, 2, 3, 4, and right in front of you was the primer tube.
So, we could sit here all night and talk about possible errors and safety and stuff. But the biggest thing, we just wanted to make the point that whether you're at the range or at the bench, there's issues that can happen. So, and stuff. And, we talked about Kentucky Ballistics a little bit, but I didn't want to really go deep down that because nobody knows for sure what the problem was. And it's one of those you may never know. But it's important to pay attention. And the main point out of Kentucky Ballistics is he got lucky with stopping the bleeding or slowing down the bleeding by using his thumb. And he was saved further injury because he was wearing safety glasses. So that's kind of the 2 main points out of that.
And he had somebody there to help him get him to the hospital.
Yeah, so don't go to the range alone. It's always fun to take a buddy to the range.
Yeah.
So. All right. Anybody have any final thoughts? Jason?
No, I'm not thinking right now. Thank you.
So
We
didn't even go into casting and all that. We'll cover that. It's a whole different animal. We're just talking about reloading today. So probably I think
general safety today. Just general safety.
Yeah.
Be safe, guys. I mean, we want you back on the, back watching us on the show. We don't want people hurt.
Nope.
Keep
your fingers out of the way of the dies. I see a lot of piercings in your fingers where they're not supposed to be pierced because somebody made the mistake of putting their finger in the way of the decapping die.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, it happens. Yeah.
A lot. Jorgen's got a good tip. Only 1 powder on the bench at a time.
Yep.
Only 1 powder open at a time. So.
Yeah. I was going over a few things, and I forgot to mention that Harrell Precision powder measure that I was showing the guys.
Yes.
They make an adapter that fits a Hodgdon bottle. Okay. So you actually will turn it upside down, screw the Hodgdon bottle on the 1 pounder, turn it over and go for there. It will take without an adapter, an Alliant bottle.
Wow.
So you can screw a whole pound of Alliant on. Okay. And because the Hodgdon also fits the same as IMRs, with the
Winchesters.
with Winchester, all that. You don't even have to transfer powder. You can just sit down and use the actual bottle.
That's a nice idea. So, I mean, the basic, a lot of this is just, common sense, using your brain, thinking about things, planning stuff out. Don't try and do it in a rush. Don't try and squeeze your reloading into a time frame in between a couple of things.
Right.
Make sure you're properly planning this out, and you are dedicating time to reloading. It's not something you're sticking in between a couple of other projects, because you will miss a step somewhere. And if you miss a step somewhere in this hobby, it can be fatal. It's not often, but it can be. And it's definitely not as many fatalities as it used to be, because safety has been preached a lot for the last 25 years. So I want to take time to thank everybody who joins us every week, whether it's in the live chat or on the various platforms that we're hanging out on, MeWe or Discord or Facebook. Want to thank everybody who sends us emails at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com or sends us text or voicemails at 608-467-0308. A huge shout out to the Patreons. It's awesome that they send us their hard-earned money so that we can continue to do this.
I got a shout out whenever we get a second, Mike.
Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to Wes Covina Dodge. He's helped me a lot on this journey I've gone down on the 577 Martini Henry. A lot of helpful information. So he's been helpful. Yeah, he taught us a
Talked to him
lot
for an hour. One
Yeah.
night.
A couple weeks ago after the show, him and I Dad talked for over an hour. So it was good to talk to him in person. Yeah, he's a wealth of knowledge.
Indeed. Ray sent us an email and says he wants to give a shout out. He says, thanks for the show and all the info that you have to share. I'd like to give a shout out to Frankfurt Arsenal. He bought a brass dryer and had it for 3 years in the box before I actually got around to using it. Who else has done stuff like that? Me. I used it for the first time and it worked great. Second time around, the heat function stopped working. Despite being out of warranty, Frankfurt Arsenal sent me a brand new one at no charge. They were incredibly polite and had a new dryer in 2 days. I have a number of their products and love them, and now they have a customer for life. Thanks, Ray. So, in line with our topic for tonight, Primary Arms has first aid stuff. So, I mean, they've got everything from just single tourniquets to actual little handy kits. Take a look and check it out. They've got trauma packs with the quick clot and the SWAT T tourniquet. I mean, they've got a whole bunch of different options. Check them out. So it's one of those things, and they got a lot of carrying cases for them too. So, but another thing that you can stop by Primary Arms and take a look at. So, but also with Skinny Medic, the We Like Shooting guys have him on there also, talking a lot. So, and actually, I think he's still doing a podcast on the network. About first aid stuff.
Him and it's called the Civilian Medical Podcast.
Yeah.
It's him and the guy that runs We Like Shooting. They do one on there.
Sean Heron.
Yep.
Yeah, Sean does mobile trainings too. So
Yeah.
I don't know if
Depending on
Skinny
where
Medic
you're
and him
at,
are tag
so.
teaming him, or depending on where you're at. So
I think Skinny Medic stays east of the Mississippi. Sean usually stays west.
Yeah.
Usually is what they do.
So But yeah, I mean, get some training, get some good training. And the nice thing about those classes is it actually deals with trauma. So they set up scenarios and run you through them and give you a little bit of trauma to deal with, other than just your standard static going in the class. But Stop the Bleed, that class, everybody should take that class. We've got it where we're doing it through the school. We literally did it for all of the staff. It was a thing that everybody had to attend, was the Stop the Bleed class for our district, just because it's that important. So if you look at mass casualty events, most of the time the fatalities nowadays, not always, but a lot of the time the fatalities are because they didn't get care within those precious few minutes that make the difference. So there wasn't somebody there with a tourniquet, or there wasn't somebody there with some materials to be able to pack that wound. There wasn't somebody there to treat that sucking chest wound. So the lung collapsed and on and on and on and on, and just basic stuff. So now the lung situation is probably a little more than your average Stop the Bleed class, but so as Idaho Rogers USMC said, start the breathing, stop the bleeding, treat for shock.
Yep.
So get the training, get the equipment. So we spend a lot of money on a lot of little gadgets and widgets for reloading. There's no reason you can't spend $60 or $100 on a first aid kit, a good one. So, and maybe you never have to use it. Think of it like your concealed carry firearm.
Yep.
You have it because you don't have it because you want to use it. You're not running around like Tackleberry from Police Academy. If you don't know who that is, watch the movies. But we carry with the hope that we never in our lifetimes have to use it. That should be the same thing. I hope I never have to use this, but I have it and I know how to use it. Same thing with, as you get the training and stuff for your firearm. You hope you never have to use it, but if you do, you know how to use it. And that's what we need to do with first aid stuff, with the medical end of it, because we don't really, this is episode 348. We've probably talked about safety twice as an episode in the entire series. So
it's easy to make the holes. Learn to patch them.
Yeah. Yep. Tim S. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Yep.
So. GGW Reloading said he modified the phrase because a cop's too heavy to carry on why you carry a gun. He said an ambulances are too heavy to carry. So there you go. So yeah. So, and we just kind of went in a little bit. There's people that cover this a hell of a lot better than we do. It's not our ballywick.
Right.
We're not going to sit here and go classes on it. If you've got questions, get a hold of us and we'll get answers for you if we don't have the answers. But it's one of those things that you need to know and you need to pay attention to. So.
Yeah.
So. It's just proper planning. All right, gang. Huge shout out to Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company. The new patch for the month is going to be awesome. I don't have it yet. But this was last month's. Thumper has a thumper. So that's Thumper the Bunny with also a thumper. So. Is that that is the M79 China Lake. So, horribly underutilized fun gun. But I suppose they replaced it with the Mark 19 now. So why have a single shot when you can have a multi-shot, right? Belt fed's always better.
Well, what about the 12 with the rotating drum?
True.
You know, you
Yeah.
can get that too. So,
Yep. So,
plus they even put an aim point on those.
This is true.
You know,
They're fun.
yeah,
Lobbing explosives at people is always fun.
better than a 203. And you got to carry the damn 16 with you. That's no fun.
Yeah, one of the guys I work with was talking about he had a 203 on his, and he just had the grenades all over the place. They wouldn't give him the belt for it, the bandolero belt, so he just had it stuffed all in his pockets and everything, and in his pack. And then they started doing, and then after they issued it to him, they went and did close combat training. So he's sitting there and they're saying, you got to keep that on. And he's sitting there and he turns around for a second, pops it off, throws it in his pack.
Well, they're no good at close range.
Nope.
You
They
know.
don't have enough velocity to do any serious damage.
No, it takes the spin. It has to spin 7 times before it's armed.
Yep. So Tim S. has a great idea. Marry a nurse. If you're single, that works great. If you can find a nurse. So anyway. Thanks to everybody who showed up tonight. Thanks, guys, for joining me and talking safety. Jason, wasn't it nice to not have to worry about hearing about the Tinsel Ferry tonight?
It was.
I saved that just so you didn't have to deal with it. Plus, Jim's not here, so it kind of spoils the fun.
Yeah,
Because he loves talking about that Tinsel Ferry so much.
he does.
So, but on that note, gang, keep your brass shiny.
Everlay, have a good evening. Tell your daddy you want a pony.
Jump on the Mill Strip short bus.
Be safe out there, guys.
Grandpa told me violence does solve problems.
And since Jim's not here, I'm going to reach back into the Wayback Machine and pull up the good old-fashioned line. Squeeze! Don't yank that trigger, Sonny. Remember, squeeze!